Hello and welcome back to City Skylines, and today we are doing what we had promised. We are going to be showing what would have happened if I had done absolutely nothing about this tsunami. So this is it. We are going to figure out how much damage there would have been. With some slow motion cinematic views and just magic in general, we are going to watch this city be absolutely ripped to shreds. These waves are hitting hundreds of feet tall. Just actually hundreds of feet tall. So the sewage system is being absolutely crushed, but that had actually happened in our first go. But what's different is that this huge wave here has no wall blocking it, this huge wave here has no wall blocking it, and basically the entire city here doesn't have any wall blocking it, which is going to cause what is going to be the largest disaster possible. We're already seeing things go wrong.
A tsunami has
Oh wow, a
struck the
tsunami has struck
Take
the
caution
city.
and avoid roads and waterfronts until
Yes,
the water
avoid
recedes.
roads. That will save you. That is definitely what's going to save you. Here we are. So the first part of the city that's going to be hit by this tsunami is right here, our high-tech industrial region. One of my favorite parts of the city. It's so weird because we have this so much more built up now, but it's kind of equivalent to what it was before. And here is the wave slowly coming in. Let's see the view from this island. So if we look out, we can just see a wall of water going all the way across the horizon. Actually, it's so tall that it blends in with the sky, and it's actually hard to see. But looking at it from the ground where a person would be, yeah, it actually disappears. It's so tall with the water shader. Yeah. So let's do this. First person. Here comes the first wave. As it surges inwards, we get our first tiny bit of tsunami touching the coast. And any second now, it's rising, 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 and we have flooding. The first buildings are being hit by the tsunami. Not only are they being hit, they're being covered, completely encapsulated in a wall of water. Trucks and cars being thrown through the air as if they are pieces of, like, foam. Entire parts of the city being torn down in mere seconds. Look at that. Half of the entire industrial district is actually gone. Now, flipping over here, we can see the second part of the city we're hitting. Oh, we can release the citizens from the shelters. Yeah, let's do that. We'll let the death toll get really high. Okay, so the tsunami here is going to slightly go over this at the edge of the sewage system. This isn't quite as bad, but this is all going to be destroyed, including the water system. Ironic. Ironic, isn't it? The tsunami could destroy itself. But no, it could just destroy everything. That meme doesn't work in this case. Someone can come up with a good meme for this. But as we can see, the entire industrial district is being wiped out. Actually, half of it is already gone. I'm pretty sure this entire island is just going to be non-existent by the end of this. Look at it go. Every single building on this part of the continent is gone. Every single one. There's a few actually trying to rebuild, but they're just being ripped to shreds. There's a wall of cars that are smashing into buildings and causing even more damage. And here it is. They are actually... The tsunami is colliding with the massive shipping barges.
A tsunami has struck the
Will
city.
it destroy the
Take caution
shipping
and avoid
freight
roads
center,
and
though?
waterfronts until the water recedes.
Actually, no. Those have survived. So, slightly better, considering those were destroyed. But this entire area has been rendered bare. There are no buildings left. How many people have we lost so far? So it looks like each hour we're losing 300 people. But this has only begun because now the residential area is about to be slammed. The emergency shelters were all let loose, which means that there are going to be tons of people on the road walking. Actually, they're leaving the shelter. Actually, like, no one's actually leaving the shelter. They're just walking around doing their normal day. So they did have enough time to escape. And now the train station is about to be hit. We can see the entire highway system being flooded over here. And here comes the wave. Look at that. The shipping ship barge is just, like, floating over the wave. And here we go. The initial impact. This is going to be brutal. This is thousands of people. One of our major population centers being hit head on by a tsunami. I did testing before, but I didn't evacuate the shelters. I kept them full and I lost pretty much half the population. What is going to happen now? And here we are. We have people in front of their school and they have all been hit. That's like 100 people. No! Buildings are being destroyed. The streets are covered in water. Over in other sections of the city, the main center of the city is being flooded. Briar Rose Square is getting feet of water. Looking over here, a small section of the tsunami has actually survived, come across the industrial area, and it's going to hit the Sheffield district, which was the first part of the city we worked on. The roundabouts are all destroyed. This residential district got most of the blow taken off from the industrial district, but it is still flooded, and we have thousands dead per hour. 4,000 dead within the first, like, it's been what? 3 hours since this started? Now 6,000 dead. We are looking at ridiculous amounts of people losing life to this disaster. It is moving over the city like it's nothing. It's like a knife through butter as it churns and rips down the buildings. Look at the water just pouring down. But there's still enough of a wave to take down entire high-rises, even raised above the ground on the terrace. It's still doing the damage. It's flooding the little river outlet we have here. It's going into the office area. Everything is being destroyed.
Tsunami has struck the city.
We have now lost 10,000 people, and it's only been 1 day. That number is continually rising. Although, here we go. So we're losing about 300 people an hour. Now the office district is being smacked. All of the water is rushing through the high buildings and ripping them down. We can see buildings collapsing before our eyes. The flooding is unbelievable. It made it up 3 levels of the terrace. It's going all the way through. Thankfully, the top level survived, but not by much. The flooding is hitting... Oh, here we go. So the center of... What district is this? Right between Briar Rose Square, Heather Square, and Wood Park, we have massive flooding. The sports precinct has been hit. Thankfully, it wasn't in the middle of a game or competition, but it's still brutal as the water flows towards the residential area. And here it is, smacking into the people commuting to work, pushing their cars along the road. Look at that. We have about 12 feet of water here, just calmly flowing through. The major bridges are all covered. Emergency equipment and vehicles are being brought out to sea. But things are about to get a whole lot worse as the water makes its way into one of our heaviest and oldest industrial and residential areas. Here it is, flooding the oldest buildings on this continent, hitting a public school with over 200 children attending. They're all being carried out to sea, and there's nothing that can be done as cars smack into them, being dragged along the roads. This is all very dramatic, isn't it? Okay, now, so, like, a lot of the city is flooded. There is damage pretty much everywhere. We have lost ridiculous amounts of people. But the real problems have not started yet, because don't forget a meteor is incoming. That is another thing that happened, which is where most of the population loss actually came from. And this tsunami has not finished. Let's speed things up. We've gone from 60,000 population to 40,000 population. We have lost a third of the population of the city. That number is rising quickly as people die. Now, there is a slight growth in population coming from rebuilding, but that's not going to last long because several very important city systems are about to have issues. First off, the sewage system is going to overflow soon. I don't know how long it's going to take for that, but at the rate of inflow, it's probably going to take about a week. So we're going to have to look out for that. Several important services, fire. The electric system is actually fine, it appears, which is surprising. Over here, the electric grid is fine. We have serious death care issues, which is causing people to abandon their homes. There is a lot of water in the sewage system. We have Heather Square is still flooded. We have about 4 to 5 feet of water on the ground here, which is making it look pretty bad for living. People are trying to find ways around the roads. They're actually risking driving through the high water. So at the peak, we have lost 20,000 citizens.
A tsunami has struck the city. Take caution and avoid.
We have some issues concerning services because, well, a lot of services were knocked out. We have serious power issues along the far coast of the sewage system. We have a huge lack of industry. We have flooding still in this section of the city because of the harbor retaining so much water. Briar Rose Square is still flooded. It has been forever, and there is still flooding here. The ground has actually turned to sand because of all of the grass being killed off.
A tsunami has struck the city. Take caution and avoid roads and waterfronts until
Rosewood Hills is underwater. But it appears that for the most part, the effects from the tsunami have subsided. The city took massive hits, about 20 times of what we had when we prepared. Was that worth $1 million? No. No, it would have been much more economical to just, you know, go with it. I mean not go with it and actually deal with problems. And the sewage system is about to have serious issues. We have a bit of flooding. And by a bit of flooding, this is getting much higher than it was ever intended to go. It's beginning to cover the area where the pumping systems went. Yeah, it's overflowing. There's actually no way to get the pumping systems online now, so the sewage system is now basically on course to catastrophically fail. There are actually flood trucks coming in from other parts of the city trying to deal with this, but I do not think it's enough to deal with the problem. Surprised any flood trucks survived, honestly. If the tsunami actually destroyed roads, the entire city would have been doomed. But thankfully for the city, yeah, the services is a problem. A few fire service buildings were knocked out, which is going to cause serious problems in the industrial areas and this little residential area here. Probably going to burn down now. Let's open the disaster report. It says that the direct citizens' loss was 3,000, 1,000 buildings destroyed, which is a complete lie. Because we were at 60,000 and then we dropped to 40,000. So indirectly through flooding, an additional 20,000 people died. It looks like Briar Rose Square is no longer completely flooded. It's just like a giant beach now. These don't have any power, which is an extreme issue. Because there is nowhere for the pump trucks to output all of the stuff they pump to. The pumping stations are going to fill up in due time. The pump trucks are working their hardest. But the flood of water coming towards them is just too much. There is now a 4 to 5 foot layer of water on the area that used to be the pump truck area. There's huge waves that are coming and going. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So it appears a lot of the damage has subsided. Parts of the city are rebuilding after all of that. I'm not sure if we're actually going to be able to get the random disaster frequency is way down from when I was recording. So we are not going to get the meter we got before unless we do it by hand. Anyone in the Discord, do you guys remember how bad that meteor was? Can someone give me a rough estimate? What, severity that meteor was? 7. Okay, 7.2, I think. And it hit the center of Sterling Park, right where we put a memorial. There we go. Okay. So, let's see what would have happened. Yep, that's right. That's not actually where I clicked, but okay. It's close enough. So now we're going to have the final part of this if we hadn't done anything. When the meteor hits and the tsunami that supersedes the meteor. Because we got a second tsunami from that. That was pretty bad. Honestly, I'm just waiting for... Oh. Boom. Ah, there we are. There's a nice tsunami. And there is the damage. Actually, that's exactly what happened. Good. I nailed it. Ah. So there's the crater. Now there's a lot of fire and electrical outages across the city because that's where the main electrical lines are. And this is, we're not doing anything seriously going to hurt, because I forgot about the electrical before, but now we're going to purposefully forget about the electrical and the bridges, which have all been cut off by this huge crater, and the tsunami caused by the crater, which is now going to crash into even more parts of the city. So here is a bit more flooding for the great people of Los Vooperis. This is why we react to disasters. Oh, and the fire service was basically knocked out by the tsunami. I haven't replaced the buildings for the fire service, so all these fires caused by the meteor impact are not being dealt with. There is just a section of the city burning down now. We're actually losing money because of the amount of large industrial buildings lost, and the power outage is going to cause about a half of the city's population, no, more than half, probably 3/4 of the city's population are going to abandon the city because of the power problems. This is the extreme end of just not doing anything and just watching, because people are just going to get angry and leave. And here we are. Everything is burning down. Everyone is having extreme electrical problems, and we're going to see people start to abandon the city soon. There it is, mass exodus. As people abandon their homes, the population is dropping faster than it was when it was hit by the tsunami. We are losing about 5,000 a week. 4,000 a week-ish is a little bit more stable, but we can see people are just leaving. Buildings are disappearing everywhere. The entire city is now just abandoning itself. I think this is the end of Los Vooperis. We are now negative $41,000 per week. We're dipping under a population of 40,000. We're now at 39,000. 38,000. 37,000. Look at the abandoned buildings. They just all disappeared. It's a ghost town. Look at it. All the buildings are cracked and disheveled. They're just disappearing and becoming nasty. There's no traffic because of it all being cut off and nobody living here anymore. It is actually now a ghost town. But not a ghost town, a ghost city. And this is the largest part of the city that has just been abandoned completely because of the meteor. The larger skyscrapers are just abandoning. And now that most of the city's population has left, we have dipped under 30,000 population. The top of Vooperis Park is all that is still standing because of the single wind turbine keeping it powered. At 29,000 population, Los Vooperis is actually growing again, but because of the lack of power, no buildings are actually going to stay. It is stuck at negative $32,000 a week, and I think this is where Los Vooperis is gonna leave off, because all of the major services are dead, like completely. Somehow a single pump truck is managing to take care of things. But even then, the sewage system is not going to stand for long. And to celebrate the end of this, because we are running almost into 30 minutes, and this is pretty much the end of what if we did nothing. Pretty much half the city abandons, a ton of people die. Yeah. We're going to open up the wall and let water pour into the sewage system, causing massive tsunamis and aftershocks all across the city. So I hope you guys enjoy this just making everything go wrong. And this is going to be fun to see. And we have opened the floodgates. There is nothing holding back the ocean from pouring into this system. Let's just throw some soil away over here. And here we go. This is it. This is what happens when you let a wall of water just spill in. Here it goes. So the ocean is sinking. The amount of water pouring in is so great that the ocean has dropped. Giant ripples are moving throughout the entire ocean. Aftershocks are being sent backwards, which are going to cause some interesting effects. Letting this much water be displaced is going to really mess with the city. I'm not even sure what effects this is going to have. But let's do even more. Let's continue breaking down this wall and let as much water flood in as possible to create as much of an aftershock as possible. Can we make a tsunami stronger than the tsunami that was there already? The force of all the water moving together has actually caused it to go way higher than it should have. The question is it going to push back? It is, kind of. It's moving at the corners back, but it's not moving as an actual wave. And it's still pushing in at the middle because of retained force pushing in from these straits. But as that slows down, we're going to start to see more and more pushing back. And we can see it now. The water level is rising. These industrial areas are actually going to flood because of the amount of water coming back out the other side. But the funny thing is, this isn't even like the majority of the water yet. This is a very small percentage pushing back. So the question is, when is the majority going to start turning around? It's slowing down. The spring is loading up its power, but when will it push back? Oh, here it goes. This is all moving down. We can see the movement. This side of the water is actually moving down, which means this side is moving up. Which, yep, we have an... I think we have more outflow than we have upflow now. This is moving out very quickly, too. It's not a slow process. But will this actually cause... It's causing a little bit of flooding, but I'm questioning whether it's going to be slow enough that it won't cause any major flooding, or if it's going to slowly get worse to the point where it's going to just cause a very subtle and huge flood. And you may be asking how it can be subtle and huge. Well, it doesn't have to go fast like this if the water level just increases. Because remember, the ocean replenishes the water, and now we have over the ocean level of water here, which is a ton of extra water moving back into the ocean, which means we have a net gain of water, which is weird. Weird to think about. We also have the sewage pouring in, which accelerates it even more. We're coming up to 40 minutes, so we're going to go until like 42 minutes, and then we're going to call it a day. We can see the water is rising like I expected it to. It's going over a little bit, but I'm not sure there's enough force for it to actually spring back. This side is shrinking back down, so I think that it may have stabilized, although there is a lot of water pouring out of this side. It's created its own little river. The water is actually moving this way now. Oh, look at that. The water has reversed direction. The entire ocean is now flowing in the other direction because of this. It's following the coasts. Is this causing any... This is actually causing flooding all the way down here. The water is getting much higher than it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be getting that close to the road. But are there any places where it's actually causing serious problems? It's about to flood these parks over here. Seems like it is causing issues, but it's just not extreme enough for anything to really care. Okay guys, well I think that's gonna be it. This is stopped, so that means the majority of the force moving outwards is done. It's gonna go on like this for a while, but I don't think anything interesting is gonna happen now. So before we finish off, I'm just going to do a little bit of a fun. I'm gonna do a bit of cutting, so you don't have to watch all that waiting. So I'm gonna cut out like 20 minutes. But we're going to shoot 8 meteors of 10.0 into the sewage system, which should cause 8 relatively sized tsunamis to emanate from the area. We'll see what this does. Nothing more fun than messing with this. Here it goes. The first one has hit. Second one has hit. Third one has hit. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. There we are. 8 meteors have hit the garbage station. Look how high the waves are getting. That's higher than the actual tsunami. The water is actually disappearing in some areas. What is actually happening? That is absurd. The water is so fast, it's ripping the buildings out without any hesitation. It's going so much faster than the tsunami from the game. This is much more dangerous. This water is never going to settle, too. It's like completely freaked out. There's waves all over the place moving at the speed of cars. Oh, look at that. This makes me ask a very good question, which is, if we just drop a few meteors right in front of the actual industrial areas, let's put an earthquake too, why not?
Astrologists report that a devastating meteor will strike the city in the near future. Residents should seek shelter immediately.
Where is the earthquake? There we go. Let's do 2 earth... Oh, there's a cooldown on earthquakes. Lame. There we go, that should be good. And then after that, we're gonna end it, because this is getting ridiculously long. I'm just having way too much fun with it. Because this is really fun.
A meteor strike has occurred.
Bam, 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 bam. 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 Okay, so this is just going to destroy the entire city now. Oh, look. It's earthquakes. Who thought it could get any worse? Oh man. The entire ocean. The entire ocean is just angry. The entire ocean. The waves are actually like 300 feet tall. Yay. They're going over our highest raised highways. Oh, it didn't actually go over. Wow, impressive. Smacking into important infrastructure and destroying it. Yeah. Let's go, disaster. The ocean will never be flat again after that. It's just done. Well, the city's on the brink of bankruptcy. We're gonna reject that and we're gonna stop here. Bye, guys. That was ridiculous. Yeah.